Hey, hey guys, can you hear me? All right.
So I just processed the agenda and we have the minutes.
So I can't hear you guys right now. It's like very, very quiet.
Can't hear us?
Oh, now I can. Yeah, we're fine now.
It's better?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll speak up. So the first order of business is I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
I have a change I'd like to propose, however, just
Okay,
because I think it will be clarifying. If you look in, and thank you for doing this, Andrew, just in paragraph 5, it refers to a representative from town council, which the way council is spelled, it could be the government town council, but we want council attorney. So I would just offer that spelling be changed, so it's clear it's the attorney for the town. So that's my only change.
should we also delete a representative from? To make it even clearer?
That's up to, if you think that clarifies it, I have no
I think
objection.
even more so.
Okay,
So
Did you-
just inviting town council.
yeah,
And council with an S.
well, COUNSEL.
All right. Done.
Okay, I'll
Um,
entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the change as discussed.
so moved.
Andrew, I think actually you should turn on your video technically. I think I remember there's some, if you're a Zoom participant, you have to raise your hand when you vote.
All right, I'm turning it on. Hey,
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Hey, that's, the minutes are approved. Next item here says treasury updates.
So I had sent out the Excel spreadsheet to everyone, just for your review, to see if you had any questions, and, we're continuing to, we had the Greenleaf balance per the school's, request and what the commissioners had signed off on. The Greenleaf balance was dispersed to, so that was closed, and that was dispersed back to the individual. And then we are following up on the other requests. I believe we have dispersed the additional funds to the balances, all that the commissioners have signed off on, and the school had proposed during the January meeting. I believe it was January.
So can we just talk about this for a second, because I need to have my memory refreshed a little
Okay.
bit. When you say the Greenleaf balance, because I wasn't thinking of it with that name for whatever reason, do you mean I don't know if it's on here, still on here. Do you mean the account where the town went back to the donor, because it had gotten so small, and asked the donor what the donor wanted, and the donor said, please return the remaining monies to me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Um,
we needed that information from Barbara, the representative at Rockland, to then have the school process that.
payment back.
Yes, but when the school had met with the commissioners, it was signed off on then. So it's been a process to get to this point.
minutes. Cause I don't recall a vote on that. Do you recall a vote?
When, I don't, when would that have been?
I'm on my email right now, so.
I wonder if it's February? I'm just trying to see if I can find it.
Anne came.
Right. The reason that I'm asking is, and this sort of goes to the request that we were talking about having town council come to explain to us how exactly they deal with these agreements. It just is curious to me, the idea of someone making a donation to the town for which they get a tax deduction, that then, over a period of time, depending upon what happens to the donation, they may then get it back. And that isn't usually,
Not what would usually happen to say
For-
a foundation
yes,
or a
yes.
donor advised
once
fund.
once you get a tax deduction, it's because you parted with ownership 100%, and you're not gonna get it back. And so I just want, that's why I was just trying to have my memory refreshed as to whether we actually voted to approve that, or whether we said,
Yes. As a part, so it was when the scholarships were presented. So the trust fund, the commissioners would have had to say yes to the scholarship, and I
which I
believe it was-
recall, I
and
absolutely remember
I
that,
believe it was lumped together.
okay.
But I'll forward you the email.
'Cause
And how
that's-
much are we talking, how much are we talking about getting potentially returned back?
It's not a lot, I think it's under $5,000, I think it's like 2,500 if memory serves-ish.
Okay, that still seems,
No, it's like,
Even less,
it's under $1,000.
We,
Okay.
yeah, we might have done it just purely, I think we might have done it just on the basis of immateriality,
all right, so I
but your
found,
point is well taken, like, should that generate a 1099 to the
well,
person
I just
receiving
don't-
it,
yeah.
even if you know.
So it wasn't December,
It was January 29th. And we had that.
okay, here's where Anne came.
After discussion, commissioners approved the schedule of proposed awards amount from the scholarship funds. The commissioners voted to approve regarding it was approved, but basically the commissioners voted in favor of what the school suggested, which is some accounts need to be looked at by town council and the next steps to pursue with the Dwight School Trust and the Jensen Scholarship Fund
Okay,
and the Durwood Newman Trust.
so town council advises that this be returned, right? That's, I think what, how do I put this? I think that's part of the protocol that exists today. Town council saying to return it, and looking at the minutes, we basically said, we'll approve what town council has said is okay. And so they're undoubtedly somehow involved in this, and so that to me is what gets us to having approved the return of the balance. to these donors.
think that we haven't been told the town council's a part of it, but the school does do their due diligence and they go through the process and they're very familiar with these trust funds and the action that can or cannot be taken.
So sorry for delaying us on this, but, I can see where the thought is that we approved it in January. I do think that this should be a subject for the meeting with town council. Because I don't know, like, it seems to put strain on the rules for charitable contributions you can deduct. But I'm not saying, like,
Yeah.
I understand that this is going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that if somebody had raised this when it was approved, it probably wouldn't have been approved because it likely does create like administrative work to document and comply with, IRS standards, right? Like regulations to refund donations. And yeah, it's not a lot of money, so maybe people were thinking we don't need to do that, but I think it's a lot simpler to just not get in the practice of returning donations.
Yeah, and I think what happened, now that my memory's kind of coming back to me, is the donor was presented with a form. And that form has choices. And one of the choices is, do you want this returned? You know, and so that
Right.
was kind of the arrangement that donor understood to be the case.
Yeah.
But it's when it's the point, so I think though it is not during the life of the fund, could it then be dispersed to the individual who donated it? It is when it is no longer providing enough to sustain the intention of the fund that it's then returned.
And-
So it is no longer, there's no longer,
Yes, but,
Purpose.
or yes, and.
okay,
When that happens, when the purpose has been fulfilled, let's say, the law says those funds need to continue to a charitable purpose. They can't go to a private purpose. So I believe that if we talk about this with town council and perhaps come up with a new practice, that practice should be, do you want the funds to go to the town? Do you want the funds to go to the schools? Something like that, not, do you want the funds back as an individual?
I think the
Or even
commissioners.
to the
are
rest
more
of the
than
trust
welcome to-
funds,
Yes,
Could
all
be,
of
yeah.
that, could be
as
that,
long as it
stays
stays.
in a charitable lane.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the commissioners are more than welcome to explore that option,
I think we should,
especially
yeah.
if you'd like to talk to town council or to school.
Well, we won't disturb this because the paperwork has already gone back and forth and the donor has said.
Oh, yeah, it's dead done.
Yeah, it's done. Okay,
So we've already returned the funds?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
approved in January.
okay,
Got it.
we'll look ahead. Ready?
Okay, are we done with this topic? Okay, before we look at invoices, Andrew, I'm sorry, we never responded to you about getting David Schiller, our new relationship manager with Rockland,
Yep.
at this meeting, so can you be responsible for formally inviting him to our next one?
Who?
David Schiller, he's our
Who's the
Barbara
new
replacement.
relationship manager.
Barbara's still active,
Oh.
so
So here's the.
And he doesn't have to come in person, this is really just, we have some operational questions that we wanted to go through about their process, so he could join via Zoom if he likes.
and Barbara, do you want me to extend?
We
it to
shouldn't
Barbara?
take too much of their time. I
Are you
think
sure
one
I
person-
thought she was retiring, like, imminently?
I exchange
No?
emails with her every week, yeah,
Oh, okay,
Barbara
but-
would be fine
or
too.
not every week, but every other week. I'll write to both of them. And what is the purpose?
to discuss operational matters and kind of operations and accounting, not investment.
Yeah, what I remembered was basically just kind of walking us through how donations work, the different, are there different sub accounts where these funds are, kept? How do they get moved around when we approve things?
This is the NCRTF.
For me, the questions are, how do they determine what can be expended in a year from a fund? And how does that get calculated? When does it get calculated? Is it set aside? Like, I'm focusing on that part of it, like the spending rule, how it works in detail. But I think your point is just operational questions.
Right, even things like, I know when I first started, I was asking them questions about, if you get a check or if we take a withdrawal, when is that effective? So, like, if it were a pooled investment vehicle of some sort, like a private fund, a hedge fund, you would strike a net asset value as of a date, and you would kind of say, okay, this much has been either added or redeemed as of this date at this NAV, regardless of when the cash actually moves. So I just want to review that process with them again.
There's also, like, now that we're talking about the bank, there's also an account, the Nina Panchik account. It's been an ongoing issue with the person that established the fund is writing checks out of it. Donation, scholarship, I have to follow up with the bank, I'm gonna see, I believe it's the Wells Fargo account,
I'm sorry, this is what?
Nina Panchik.
It's the fourth, it's on the second page. Do you have
I
this?
don't have it in front.
It's, sorry, I can't show this to you.
It's okay.
It's the one I just circled.
And it's, I guess it's been going on for years where there have been distributions out of this account. So, they've had a conversation in the past with the person who had set up the fund and basically outlined you can't be just writing checks, so.
But don't we have, like, out of what account? Like, does the Nina Panchik Scholarship Fund have its,
I think it's
account that-
Wells Fargo, but it's been a long week, so I
Yeah,
don't
right,
worry on that.
but if they're writing a check, it's not coming out of this money is at Rockland Trust managed in a pooled account.
No, I forget what the parent bank is under that Nina Panchik account, but I will be following up.
Yeah.
But it's just, maybe we bring that up during the meeting
Sure.
if it is Rockland Trust related, but it's been ongoing. So the commissioners were aware of it before, it's been talked about in the past, and I think what happened was it kind of stopped and now it's started back up again. And I don't think
I don't have any
Do we know
recollection
to-
in this.
Yeah, and I don't remember it from the times that I was in the audience. To whom are these checks being written?
I think they're scholarship. I think
Okay,
it's
so at least for
scholarship, but I
charitable
don't-
purposes.
But it's not the right avenue, it's not.
Right,
so
I'm more
I need
concerned
more
about,
information, but I just
what-
wanted to give you a heads
like,
up.
my understanding was all of these accounts are really just on paper, there's not like a separate account
There's like an
number or
omnibus,
anything.
yeah, omnibus account?
Sure, if you want to think of it that way. Or it's really more that Rockland have an account for the Needham Trust Funds, and it's just one account in the name of the town. And then all the accounting for it is just done on a spreadsheet. So I'm curious to know, like, where these checks
Well,
are even
you
originating.
mentioned Wells Fargo, so there's something on here.
I
that I was
also,
gonna ask a question about.
I also will contact the school and just have a conversation, because if it's scholarship related, they definitely. I'm hoping it rings a bell for them as well. But I can look it up.
Well, and so
And isn't this commission or this, this group of commissioners, aren't we supposed to approve everything that goes out of the trust? The trust fund, isn't that part of our role?
Yeah, this is what, this whole thing is actually news to me. I don't remember talking about it, and it sounds
Yeah.
odd, like there is a disbursement process, but then someone has a physical checkbook. Like, could they write a $9 million check?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to understand that.
Yeah. Agreed.
So
Yeah, so the
preview
school
it,
hasn't approved them, because I'm going back to emails. The school didn't approve them, but the funds had been dispersed. And I can, yeah, it's been ongoing, but they can.
all right, so
In
this is,
my personal opinion, I don't think that when something's turned over to the town, anyone should have the ability to then access it. I think when you turn it over, it's,
right, I mean, so ask David to be prepared. When you invite him, please ask him to be prepared to address this specific case.
okay.
And what's the name of the fund or the case, just so I can put it in my notes?
So it's, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, no, you can,
Nina, so first name Nina, last name Hansuk, P as in Paul, ANSUK, scholarship. It has, according to this. It's just trying to look at what the market value is. The market value appears to be about 135,000.
Okay.
past 5:30, so.
We got to.
Okay.
15, I got a whole.
Oh, you're 15, okay.
minutes.
Okay, are we ready to move on to invoices?
Yes.
Okay.
That's everything for me. All right, so, library, they have a credit. So it's a credit for $11.47, and you just have to sign off on the credit, which will then be added back to the account via accounting. The NCRTF, they have a limited amount in their fund. So they created a batch. It's a batch for $11,000 and $11,086.41. This is money that is in the account, and for the remaining one, accounting had asked Paul Good, who manages the Needham Revitalization Trust Fund, and asked him to approve that the money could be moved to basically have the donation taken from one and added to the other account. And we had gotten kind of into this last session about the different accounts for the NCRTF.
Right,
Like the
The
90,
funds, sorry?
is this like the 90-10 split that they were doing?
Yes, yes. So he didn't get back to us before the meeting, but I have the other invoice that is unpaid. So I wanted to present it to see if you did sign off on it, then we would process it only if there was funding. But I just wanted to bring it to the meeting because it didn't make the cut because of the email delay. So if that,
Do we know if, are the funds, are there sufficient funds across the both accounts if we were to move it? Okay.
yes, so there is.
And do we know, is there any purpose of keeping the two accounts separate? Like, I guess, is there any reason why we wouldn't approve this? Were the two accounts split for a reason?
I can check, not that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to ask, probably this town manager's office. And then I can also check in with Paul. I know he would be more than happy to come in if we had any questions about that account particularly. He's very passionate about what he does, so it's actually very nice to have a conversation with him about it.
Yeah, to me, it all just comes down to like if these funds are all really for the same purpose and can be used across the two accounts, then yeah, we can move them over to pay the invoice. But if there's some context or some reason that we're just not aware of, we would hate to approve it without knowing.
This one, this is for Needham oh, sorry.
Yep.
It's on the top.
Yes, so that's the 600,
Yeah, where should I, Where do you-
just the invoice itself.
Okay.
And then Ned's aware of the situation, we had a conversation in accounting, Ned in accounting. And if there is no fund, then it will not be paid, and I'm not gonna give it to him until there is funding, so.
And what's the invoice for?
lawn mowing, yeah, landscape.
Landscaping? Yeah, and just a general question, I'm still new. For invoices like this, or just when we're approving invoices, have they already been approved by someone closer to the project, and then this is kind of, we're approving the release of funds? Or are we really the only approval process that these invoices go through?
So, meaning, are we the ones who say, yes, there is funding, or?
I think he,
Well, it's
you
just
mean
like,
as far as,
yeah, like, I don't know, like if the landscaper submitted an invoice for 11,000 or 20,000, like, is there somebody that is approving that, yeah, this is the correct amount and the correct company, things like that?
the trust is submitting a request to us to pay the invoice, so it's saying, I approve this for payment.
Okay, got it.
So it would be dependent within the trust to, like for the NRC TF, it would be their internal control that
Yeah.
would then bring it to our or the commissioner's attention to sign.
Right.
Really, it comes to
And
account.
do we, great, and I'm fine leaving it at that. Do we have any responsibility to oversee those procedures or those controls, or are we fine just accepting, as long as the funds are there, we can approve it, we don't need to kind of investigate any further?
So I do think we have a responsibility to be sure that the steps before it comes to us give us confidence that what is presented to us is accurate. As far as the revitalization trust fund, I don't know as much about how, the steps taken there.
Mhm.
However, a couple of months ago, we had someone from the library come to talk to us because most of our invoices almost seem like they're related to the library.
Okay,
And they described to us like redundancy upon redundancy,
mhm.
where I felt it gave me great confidence in all of the work that's done before it even gets to us to make sure it's accurate.
Great.
So.
Well, they have a pretty intense, like, ordering process, receiving process, and it's sort of signed off at each step. It's kind of what you would expect for an organization that moves a lot of physical stuff, like
Yeah.
lots of small physical things in a very organized way.
Has funding,
What's that?
and has federal funding, anything state or federal, you really have to have your procedures outlined very clearly, because it's going to be checked. But they did have like multi-step process, and then the board signed off on it and had to sign off before it was presented to us. And I mean, we can invite Paul if that's the.
Andrew, to your point though, like, if one of the trusts that doesn't usually come up in our routine meetings
Yeah.
were to put in a request, then I might say, well, like, who is this person who's signing off? Right,
Yeah.
like I know the name Paul Good. He may have come once to our meeting. The library, recognize their signature, they're public people in the town.
Yeah.
But if it were a one-off, I would go back and I'd wanna look at the document or see I would ask a question. In other words.
Yeah,
I think we have the
okay.
responsibility to ask a question if we're not very familiar.
Okay. Makes sense.
Do have one more comment
Sure.
I wanted to add, so. Someone has approached me about starting a fund, does anyone have information on that? The actual starting of it?
Oh, meaning on how you should start it, or has the person also reached out to us?
They've just reached out to me and said, I'm exploring the option of starting a trust fund. So in your time here, has anyone started a trust fund?
Did the library gentleman ever actually start his trust fund?
He did it through the library.
He did,
He
okay.
did, he did.
Because I don't recall ever approving it.
Might have, I have to check, it might have just been a large donation instead, because we were exploring,
It was gonna be something like $7,000. It was not a
Oh,
huge.
no, I don't think they started it then.
Yeah,
I think it was something else. Okay, Diane, the assistant treasurer, was going to contact the previous treasurer. I just wanted to,
do we? Now, so maybe you're asking me the question, but I guess I'll ask it back to you. Do we have the right to accept it on behalf of the town, or does that have to be a select board thing to accept a donation?
I think it would have to go through the select board.
Okay.
That's
So
my
would we
initial
ma-
thought.
Would
but
it be that maybe we would make a recommendation to this, like we, the commissioners have reviewed it and recommend that the select board approve it, or we see no reason that the select board shouldn't approve it, or some statement like that?
Yeah, I can ask, it's not yet happening,
Okay.
but I can ask for next. meeting,
Alright.
So.
And then
Thanks.
that'll go nicely with the conversation with David Schiller about like, what do you do and how do you kind of pick a date, strike a nav, whatever you do.
And I think it also dovetails well with the conversation with town council.
Yeah.
Because what is the documentation that goes back and forth?
Should
And
we
what
make,
does it
should we
say?
make a list of all the things that we have kind of pending with town council and then invite them at some point?
Yeah, if you'd like to, for sure.
Yeah, the question is when, because I think we decided last meeting that we would invite town council.
Mhm.
And so, does it make sense that the order of events will be David or Rockland Trust first?
Mhm.
And then after we do that, invite town council by Zoom. But in the meantime, develop a list so that we can use it, the time as
When
efficiently
should,
as
and would you like
possible.
to develop that list? I mean, I know you need to go, but do you want to develop that list now?
The commissioners can also email, so say you as commissioners would like to iron that out on your own, you're more than welcome to email it and then present it.
As long as I think we're not discussing it from a content perspective, right? We can just kind of raise a bunch of questions to be presented at the next
Okay,
meeting, right?
Yeah, because you're not.
so that seems like a fair way, because we can think
Okay.
about it.
So why don't, Julia, why don't you start off the email chain
Sure.
and send it around to us, and it'll be our question list for town council, and you can invite them to join also.
So we, would
This
you
might be
like,
a dumb question, actually. Is town council like a person who works for the town, or is town council a law firm?
it is, we have a designated person who works for the town, though I do think the entire firm could be utilized if needed.
Okay, so it's not an employee of the town?
No.
It's a,
Chris Heat is our town council.
got it.
Do you want both Rockland and town council at the same
No, I think that
No.
that would be
June?
a lot.
Okay, so the June, would you like David and perhaps Barbara, whoever's available for
Then
June?
why don't we just do David in June, and at the June meeting, we'll work on this list of questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed.
That seems
Okay.
like a good way of
All right.
doing it.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
So did we approve the credit to the library and the revitalization fund invoice, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then we will
July,
work on our question list for town council. Okay,
in the next meeting,
Should we schedule a September?
September,
Sure.
so then we wouldn't meet with town council until September.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
okay.
So we're looking at June, wait, no, September, I'm sorry.
Monday, September 8th.
Second,
Okay,
it's clear.
Okay. And do you prefer 4:35?
whatever works best for everyone.
I have no preference.
Andrew?
I would say 4:30, but I'm,
Okay.
Okay,
So 9, 8, 4:30,
yes.
perfect.
All right. Anything else, Andrew, before we adjourn?
nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, thanks.
So moved.
All in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
All
we're
right,
adjourned.
perfect.
Thank you.
great.
thank you,
Okay, thank you, everyone.
safe travels.
Thanks, bye-bye.
What do you mean?